Please share to all the people, particularly PF members, PF structures. Please share to all the people. Share, so that you can get the information. The information I want to give this morning, addressed to PF members, PF supporters, is extremely important for the future of the party and for the future of democracy in Zambia. The information we want to give is extremely important for the future of the PF and for the future of democracy in Zambia. So share as much as you can. Share as much as you can. I'm sorry, I'm taking my coffee. Share as much as you can. Share as much as you can. Good morning, members of the public. Good morning to all PF structures and members. Today I've decided to address the PF members and the general public in view of the fact that we are almost there to hold the PF convention. I'm saying today, I have decided to address the PF members, PF supporters, and particularly the delegates to the PF convention, as we have heard that we are almost about to have the PF convention. Ama politics tekuta tepamansansa. Ama politics tekuta tepamansansa. Pamansansa ni pali aba ichebale vuta. Ati ifwe ba inendi chimbwi. Ifwe ba nina inene wishi yo ala bembwa mwamba n'okuvuta aba iche bale na no bwali bwa mukikopo bwa maloba. Ama politics tekubuta tekwangala is a serious business because it involves the lives of our people. It involves the development of this country. It involves the social sector and the economical sector of this country. Above all, it involves the spiritual aspect. And the spiritual aspect is to hear what the word of God wants to say to us as Zambians. And believing and acting in a godly or Christian manner. In making every decision, we must evoke the power of God. We must ask God for guidance. We should not just be doing things for the sake of doing things. PF is in problems today. PF is divided today. And the reason is very simple. It is because nifile abantu batila ukwali nsoke takwafuile bantu. Elo kabidi na alikwebele nao tabulapo. When President Edgar Lungu initially resigned when we lost election and resigned as president, they advertised for people to apply to stand as presidential candidates. 9 candidates applied that particular time. Among them was myself. I also came forward and said, I am making myself available for election to the office of President of the Patriotic Front and subsequently as President of the Republic of Zambia. A decision like that is not made out of impulse or out of selfishness. Neither is it made out of thinking that maybe one has a lot of money and that because you have money, then you think you can run the country. Running the country involves one to understand what should be done economically, socially, in order to improve the living standards of our people. And for me personally, I evaluated myself. I did an introspection to see whether indeed I have got what it takes to be president of Zambia. And I made a lot of consultations, and I looked at the governance of this country from the Kaunda days up to where we are. And of course, I took into consideration my experience in government, my experience at constituency level, what I achieved at constituency level, which I cannot start beating my own drum and dance to it. What I have done in Ron constituency is there for everybody to see, and I leave it to the people of Zambia to judge me. What I did in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is there for everybody to see. What I did at Ministry of Labor is for everyone to see. What I did at Ministry of Youth and Sport is there for everybody to see. What I did at Ministry of Information and Broadcasting is for everyone to see. And I will leave it to the people of Zambia to judge my performance. But what I'm trying to say is that I've got a track record in politics. From the time I joined UNIP in my early days as General Secretary for Student Affairs for the Copper Belt, for those who went to school with me, can attest to the fact that I was a very prominent member of the UNIP, and I was being referred to Uteko by my peers. Now, what I'm trying to say is that PF is where it is today because people don't listen to advice. When they advertised for people to stand as president, and they decided that they would allow presidential candidates to go around the country visiting structures, visiting the people that were going to form the electoral college of the PF convention. I did advise publicly that you cannot allow presidential candidates to start going round the structures, round the country, to canvass for votes for an internal election of a political party. It has never been done in the history of Zambia, even from UNIP time, where presidential candidates, even before we went to the one-party state, where candidates of a political party, internal democracy, would be allowed to start going round the districts, round the constituencies, meeting structures as a way of campaigning for themselves. The danger of this kind of thing is that it breeds in corruption. It breeds in corruption because when a candidate starts going around, the electorates or the structures will look at who is giving them more money, and they will base their voting on who gave them more money. Because in Dakai, Kuli Nsala Zambia, there is anger in this country. The second thing was that once you do that, you divide the party. Because what will start happening is that people will start endorsing certain candidates. And when they start endorsing certain candidates, they will create camps within the political party. And once you create camps within the political party, you are breaking the party into pieces. I issued a statement and advised the powers that be that you cannot allow candidates to go around. What usually happens when you are going to have a general conference is that people file their nominations at the general conference. When you go, if it is Mulungushi Local Authority, You arrive at Mulungu Rock of Authority, then they'll announce the nominations are now open. You go and file the nomination, you pay the nomination fee, and then the campaign opens there at the General Conference. Each candidate who is vying for the position of president, each candidate who is vying for the position of member of Central Committee are all given an equal opportunity to engage the electorates. And usually this campaign is confined to the Electoral College at the convention. And it is done only 24 hours before the elections. When we went to the convention under President Michael Sata, this is exactly what transpired. Even when there was an election in 2021, during President Edgar Lungu's time, may his soul rest in peace, people went and filed their nominations when the conference was called, and after they filed the nominations, campaigns were opened. There was never under President Sata or under Michael Sata or even in the MMD that candidates were allowed to go around the country. Now, you cannot say that the playing field is leveled when you allow people to go round and campaign, because other people may not have the resources to go around. Other people may not have the resources to give to the electorates. People can make a decision based on their terms, based on what they are given by a particular candidate. So we are where we are today because people did not listen to my warning that don't allow candidates to go around the country canvassing for votes. And this is what has brought PF where we are. Now, elections are a serious business, like I said. And when you look at Zambia's history in terms of elections, you agree with me that ifisuma fimoneka kwati efivi. Elo ifivi moneka kwati efisuma. Naturally engechive efi. It is because of corruption. The elections or politics in Zambia has been commercialized. And that's why you saw that President Michael Sata did a very different thing altogether. Because Michael Sata did not believe in corruption, did not believe in corrupting people for them to vote for him as president. What Michael Sata had was just the plan, was just appealing to the people, explaining what he wanted to do for Zambia and where he wanted to take Zambia. Nobody can tell you that President Michael Sata paid the structures, used to come to Chingola and leave money that there will be election, you vote for me. In fact, when we went for the convention, he said, whoever wants to stand, can you please stand? And those who want to stand as president, stand. And the nominations were opened. At the end of the nomination, nobody challenged President Michael Sata because people believed in him. Believed in him because he had a track record in politics. People could trace what Michael Sata had done for Zambia, what Michael Sata had done for the Patriotic Front, what Michael Sata had done for the PF. Michael Sata did not just come from nowhere and I want to be president. Or Michael Sata did not rush when he was first MP, second MP, third. I think he spent about 15 to 20 years in parliament before he decided to stand as president. And he was a well-known figure who was very easy to sell to the electorates. But what is happening today is something different. And I will not go into details because I don't want to be looking like I'm campaigning other people. But I'm just trying to guide the PF structures, the PF delegates, that politics has to be taken seriously, and it should not be based on who gives more money or who you like as a person. You may not like certain people, but at least look at their track record. Look at what they are able to do. Look at their abilities in terms of leadership. I'll give you an example. The UPND in 2001 almost won the elections, if they didn't even win it. Because Mazoka was in politics, he was a ward chairman. From a ward chairman, he was at constituency level, he rose to a district level, he was at national level in MMD. When he formed the UPND, things were very bad. MMD were not performing well. Mazoka formed UPND in 1998. 98, 99, 2000, 1998, 1998, 99, 2000, 2001, he decided to run for the office of president. And when he stood there for the office of president, he was a well-known man. People had known him. He was managing director of Anglo America. He was managing director of Zambia Railways. And what he did, both politically and outside politics, were in public domain and people knew his track record and trusted him. He put up a very big fight against the MMD to the extent that he became number 2. Unfortunately, Mazoka died. When Mazoka died, there were non-politicians like Sekwiba Skota, Bob Sichinga, Vachisanga, and many others, including our friend and current acting president of PF, Given Luwinda, who had experience in politics, who had been in parliament before, who had been, some of them had even been in government before of UNIP, and they had a track record of where they were coming from. When they went to the convention, here came our current president. No, he's a rich man, and we need a rich man. And he managed to convince the structures of UPND that he was the best man for the job. When they went for the convention, he was elected president of the UPND. At that time, UPND had, I think, 48, if not 52 MPs when Mazoka died. But because HH came on the political scene, he was not a known man. But the UPND was a strong party that everybody had bought into. What happened? When the 2006 elections came, because HH was not known that time, the party lost a lot of its seats, and even their popularity nosedived, went down, to the extent that they remained with only, I think, 22 MPs, if I'm not mistaken. Why did that happen? Because HH was not known on the political scene. HH was difficult to sell because he was a new person. Not that he could not make it as president, not that he was a bad leader, but because he was just not known in the political circles. How long did it take HH name to be sold? He lost in 2006, he lost in 2008, he lost in 2011, he lost in 2014, he lost in 2016, and only came to win the election after trying 6 times. Do you know the reason why that happened? He was now earning his eminence. He was now being known, selling himself to the people. Is that what you want PF to have? A candidate who is not known, maybe a candidate who has no experience, a candidate who needs to be sold for another 3 times or 4th time in order to come and form government? You see, history is there for us to learn in order to learn best practices and discard bad practices. That's why I said sometimes in politics, if isuma fimoneka kwati efibi, ifibi nafo efimoneka kwati efisuma. Ichimemba chitila, ifi omukala mbaye nga monanga na ikala, umwa ichena ngwe mini netete afimone. Ifi omukala mbaye nga mona nga na ikala, umwa ichena ngu enge mini na patebo, ai mini na pachulu ta kafimone. Because God has given us different talents and different capabilities. And you have to understand people's capabilities and people's abilities in order for you to make a decision. When I warned about not allowing presidential candidates to go around to avoid dividing the party, to avoid corruption, people thought I didn't know what I was talking about. But I've been vindicated that we are here today because people do not listen to advice. And what is happening in politics today, some people just hate certain individuals. And when you hate such individuals, you would not want them to come near the corridors of power. Let love lead in this country. And the hatred, bitterness that is being experienced in politics today must come to an end. People must not think that when you go into government, you must go and revenge what people did against you. If treating one another badly in politics should come to an end, we should have a leader who should be able to forgive, a leader who doesn't keep grudges, a leader who doesn't harbor resentment or hatred. When you experience bad things in life, it is just an experience that God is giving you in order to prepare you for leadership and tell you that these things must be avoided. Because the way they've happened to you, the pain that you feel when it is happening to you, you should not inflict that pain on other people. And that's what we need this country to inculcate. But people don't seem to learn. But this time is a defining moment. It's a defining moment to know whether we want to kill PF or whether we want PF to go forward. And I can tell you, if PF loses the 2026 general election, you can as well forget about PF. UNIP lost the elections, and that's how the party was buried. We have an opportunity as PF to redeem ourselves and make sure that the party continues. This party was formulated on the basis of pro-poor, on the basis of lifting the living standards of our people, on a basis of giving or offering leadership that should stand the test of time. And Michael Sata demonstrated it. President Edgar Lungu demonstrated it. But somehow on the way, we derailed away from our initial target, the ideologies that PF stood for. Some people became selfish to the extent that even the structures, the PF structures, did not benefit anything. The PF structures, the PF members were not empowered. Today, you structures of the PF, you have an opportunity to choose a leader who is going to make sure you are empowered, who is going to make sure that you are looked after. Today we are grappling in PF, even not, finding it difficult to raise money to do the convention. If the structures were empowered, if the members were empowered, individuals were empowered, and Zambians in general were empowered, PF would have not been finding it difficult to raise money for the convention or any other activities. But because one, PF structures were not empowered, PF members were not empowered, and Zambians were not empowered during the PF, most of the contracts were going to foreigners. And these foreigners were taking the money out of the country, leaving the general populace, particularly the structures, the members of PF, and the general public without any money. And there's no money in circulation today. But have we learned anything as a country? Even today, as we speak, contracts are being given to foreigners. Even today, as we speak, the government today is saying 20% of the business in the mining sector should be given to Zambians. Really? In the 21st century? You want the 80% of business in the mining sector to go to foreigners and only 20% to Zambians? What an insult. What an insult. It should be vice versa, that 80% of the contracts and the business in the mining companies must be given to Zambians in order for us to empower the Zambians, in order for us to create a middle-income country for ourselves. There is no way that you can be prioritizing foreigners at the expense of your own people. Why should you give your own people 20% and give 80% to the foreigners? You see, God gave us these mineral resources like copper, gold, emerald, etc., in order for us to create wealth for ourselves, for the people of Zambia. So, you have an opportunity now to evaluate all the leaders and see who can look for after us, who has the heart to empower the people of Zambia, who has the heart to empower the structures, who has the heart to empower the businesses, the Zambian businessmen, without looking at their political affiliation, without looking at the tribe, greed, religious connection, or otherwise. I have been a victim of my businesses being terminated because of belonging to the Patriotic Front, because of belonging to the opposite. I have seen a lot of contractors and suppliers who are dealing with the mining companies, who are dealing with government, who have been kicked out of business because of belonging to the opposition or because of being suspected that they'll fund the opposition. We are not going to develop our country, Zambia, if this scourge is left unabated. We need to love one another, and we need to separate politics from business. Politics are there for people to provide the leadership to improve the living standards of our people so that we can have better schools, we can have better hospitals, so that people can have disposable income at the end of the day. But not a battle for who should get business, who should do what, and giving business to only foreigners. We are not going to go anywhere. Let's prioritize ourselves. Surely, how would you feel as a cadre? How would you feel as a member of PF? How would you feel as a structure of PF? How would you feel that you were in government for 10 years? You are even failing to buy a bag of milimi. Because you were not prioritized. People did not bother about empowering structures. I can give you an example about myself. Here in one constituency, when I was member of parliament, I made sure that all the wards in my constituency were turned into cooperatives. And they started benefiting things from the cooperative, such as fertilizer support, and people were given money from the little 1.6 million constituency development fund to do projects like chicken rearing, pig rearing, etc. I even managed to get a tractor because I realized that the people in one constituency, the mining jobs were not there anymore. So most of them had gone into farming. I did go to Minister of Gender then, Vankandulo, and I went and asked for a tractor. There were tractors that they were giving out, particularly to chiefdoms. So I went and sat with my sister Wankandulu and I said, look, my constituents, the mine is closed. People are now going into farming. Tupeniko tractor imo. Ya kwebati, ile elimina abantu. Bale booking at a small fee, no become a few of our elimina so that we can stop this thing of abantu kulabo mfienkas. Wankandulu gave us a tractor. Now, when I differed with the PF, somebody somewhere came and picked that tractor. Abantu bali trained, Bashmuansa, Kasonde, and many people to operate that tractor on behalf of the people of Ron constituents. Basendele that tractor. Kwa to tractor inga yashara muloni Kambwili pangeshina ifitumutamshaka to win my elections. So he send then tractor. If you buy send the tractor, no kuba itwala, I know where that tractor is. I'm giving this example, show you that leaders must also prioritize ukuchita empower ama structures yabo, ukuchita empower abantu mu area umobali, ukuchita empower abena Zambia, so that money is among the Zambians, is among the grouping, is among the general public. So that when one has got a problem, he can go to the other and ask. PF should not be having problems. Panonga wewa 30, mwema members wa PF, tulefo kwata convention, sonkeni, finefi, na mwema Zambian businessmen, tuafweni. The Zambian businessmen have no money because the contracts are given out. The structures were not empowered. The people of Zambia were not empowered. Where do you get the money from? So, ichibe mbachitilo kwa linsoke takwafuile bantu. Elo kabiri, Yesu mwanalesa Yesu ilio talafwa. Aevelo kutila. Amenso mwalikwata. Ama tuinayo mwalikwata. Lelo tamumfwa nokumona tamumona. Elo Yesu atile. Mwilandilila. Muleilila mwebene. Nabana benu. Bantu ama decision yakusala obuteko, ama decision yakusala entungulushi yaba muminwe yenu. Lesa tapela muminwe apala mikafi. Yesu mwana lesa bali musulile abantu bae batawe uyu ine kapalamba o wishkapento yutwale mona Joseph ewingaba umulubushi. What happened? Ilio Yesu bamwipeye bayambika pamusalaba. Elo baisa mona nombali lyafwa akasuba kaya. Elo bonse basuminoko bati chine mulubushi. Na basata bale isa kulifo for Zambians. Mwebantu, I can change this country. Mwebantu, I can change this country. People didn't listen. Abantu baishilele kabasata bakota dili amakayapwa. Elo mwaisa basala ba president. Muli 3 years basata efyo basha bachita pali chino panoison bali achalo. Fipa pusho. But we made basata mpaka bakota. Elo tuwasata realize that yo basata meant well for this country. Mwebena Zambia. Ukwete amatwi omfwe. Mweba PF. Ukwete amatwi omfwe. As we go to the convention, go and analyze all the candidates. Make the right decision. Na mwapanga wrong decision luenu. Mukashala muli mwamoneni. Inefyo nchitafeli onse. Kusoka abantu nokubeba ukutila bane ichi chisuma ichi techisuma. I urge you to do the right thing. Analyze the candidates and vote a candidate who has the experience, who understands the politics, who can easily be sold, who can work for you, who can want to empower the people of Zambia, who want to empower the structures, and who want to make sure that the right thing is done for Zambia. Let me give you an example. Today, we are grappling with the issue of the youths. This issue of the youths, particularly on the Copper Belt and the Northwestern Province, can be a thing of the past if we apply our minds collectively as Zambians, but with the right policy and the right thinking and the right direction. Look, these tailings dumps that we have seen around Zambia, the stockpiles the dump sites that we see around Zambia, the Black Mountains. These can be a game changer for the youths, including the open pits where the mining company have moved and said they are not economically viable. If those government can get all those tailings dumps to their site, they can get all the dump sites to their sites, and then find an investor to come and set up a processing plant. Like I said in the last address, that the processing plants that we need to set up now should be beyond the recovery of copper, should also be the recovery of critical minerals and rare earth minerals under a new production line or under a new system where we can manufacture nano powders, we can manufacture alloys and super alloys. But as we look for this investor, the investor must not have 80% or 90%. Government must have 49%. The investors must have 50%. Then we get all these dump sites. If you when they were processing copper in the 70s. But because the processing the processing type which was there, the way of processing which was there, the technology which was there, was leaving out a lot of critical minerals and even copper. For instance, the dump site that we have here in Luanshya, the cut point for copper at that time, now 1%, 2% vale posa, 0.1% vale posa. Now there is a new technology to recover copper, even 0.1 to 0. Whatever, you can recover the copper. That's why you saw in Ndola, First Quantum, when they came into Zambia, they were only processing the dump site, the tailings dump sites, which were in Kitwe before they went to Kansash. And they made a lot of money. They extracted critical minerals from there. They extracted rare earth minerals from there. They extracted copper. They extracted cobalt from those tailings. Now, if government gets these tailings and create youth cooperatives, the youths will be digging that those tailings, load them onto tippers, deliver them to the processing plant, where government and the investor will be shareholders. They will go and supply those tailings dump, and they are paid something. Then the investor only does the processing of those things. You create a lot of money and wealth for the youths. Even the pits. Because, when the mining, big mining companies or these mining companies stop mining in a pit, that does not mean that the copper is exhausted. We demonstrated here in Luanshya. That's why I said, for me, when it comes to knowing how to empower people, I know how to empower people. I'm not trying to beat my own drum and say, these are things that I've done. When Luanshya Copper Mines moved out of Pit 6, which is near Section 21, the people of Luanshya approached me and said, Honorable, move Pit 6, and we sell it in order for us to have money. I went to the president, the late President Edgar Lungu, and I said, President, there is this suggestion. According to them, now enough, they will not go back there. So why can't we give this pit to the people of Luanshya? The president said, okay, I'll speak to the Chinese. He spoke to the Chinese, and I came and announced and gave that pit. You know what happened in Patamato and Ron? There was a lot of money. The economy of Ron and in Patamato picked up, and it went beyond Luanshya. There was no reported accident because we had agreed with the mines to monitor what they were doing. But inga mwayakula kwale baba na mayo aba ichia bakalamba bonse chila muntu na imbapa baleshtisha. The economy of Luanshya boomed. What happened immediately? PF lost elections, they were removed by Ashika na Piti by Ashika. Piti yo mufumine motamaka welelemo. Instead abantu bapange mwenda la mamwa ya Ashika. And this is what Luansha Mines is now doing. Once some Piti some bafuma kuya Ashika without. If they were leaving it to the youth cooperatives, to the youth and the women, today this issue of in Salam Copper Belt, in Salam Luansha, in Salam Kito, in Salam Chingora would have been a thing of the past. My appeal to government is that for me, if I become president, or when I become president, I will give those open pits, dump sites to the youth cooperatives for them to make money. It can be done, you structure it well. That is what Ghana is doing, and people are making money. The country is making money. The money is remaining in the country. Most of the money that is being generated from the mining companies is externalized. And that's why we have a problem with our exchange rate. Look at the agriculture sector. Today, the whole region wants grain, wants maize. But how much production are we doing? 4 million tons, and we start celebrating a population of 20 million people. With the arable land, with a lot of water, you produce 4 million tons. You say it's a bumper harvest. Governments must lead by example. In all the provinces, there must be a large state farm to produce maize for export and for consumption. We must be targeting about 10,000 or 10 million metric tons of maize production, if we can do the right thing. But again, we have taken agriculture during the rain season. There are a lot of things that can be done. In Congole Tukwete, as Zambia, can be paid. If today we planted 100,000 hectares of land, 10,000 hectares of land in each province, which will give us 100,000 hectares of land in the whole country. In 10 years, the pine tree will mature. And just selling that pine tree without adding value, exporting it, it can give us enough money to pay off our debt. But when we include even processing it, semi-processing it, so that we can export processed timber, even just selling that timber locally to our sawmills, Zambia, we can raise money to pay the debt. And we don't need to go and borrow from the World Bank or the IMF. But it's because our priorities as a country are wrong. And because when we are voting leaders, you don't analyze leaders. Leaders don't come to you and say, this is the plan that I have for the country. Chisa fe kwatna kalimochiunda. Hey, ifintu ni mwila, ifintu ni mwila, ifintu ni mwila, ifintu ni mwila. Ushe mwila finsha mievele fya kachitile chalo. What has mwila told you that this is his plan to improve the living standards of the people? I think it is high time that we must be basing our voting on quality and not quantity. Look, we are losing money, a lot of money. Particularly, let me talk about Chinese mines. Chinese mines are doing what is known as in-trading. Almost all the contractors that the Chinese mines are giving contracts are Chinese companies which are part of the NFC group. The NFC which runs all these mining companies for Chinese in Zambia on behalf of the Chinese government. NFC is the mother company. They are the owners of the mine. Contractors are subsidiaries. What can stop them from exaggerating their costs in order to declare losses or in order to declare less profits so that they pay less taxes? Because what we are getting from these mine companies is only taxes. Now, if they are using Chinese contractors, it simply means that you will not know the actual cost. And there are instances where if a Zambian contractor is given a contract by a Chinese mine, he's paid less than what they are paying the Chinese. Now ask yourselves, why is it like that? Because they are going to use the the costs declared by the Chinese contractor as the actual cost of production, and then the actual cost which the Zambian contractors are given is all profit to them. So there must be a law to say there should be no in-trading. If you are NFC and group, you should not be subcontracted by the mother company. Even at Mopani, what is happening today? You have given, the mine has been given to IRH. The contractors who have come are Indian contractors because the mine is being run by Indians. Surely you can't see that there's something wrong. You want to give the Zambians 20% and give them 80%. They are one and the same. The main company and the contractors are one and the same. Why is it that when Mopani was being run by you see, like what the previous owners of Mopani were doing were not the ones who were running the company. They were contracting different companies. For instance, there's one time where they gave it to the South Africans to run. We saw that almost all the contractors who came on the mines were South Africans. When it was given to Peruvians, we saw that almost all the contracts who were coming were Peruvians. You can't see that why they are doing this is because they want to hide, to exaggerate the costs so that they pay less taxes. So there must be a policy to say that the contracts must be given to Zambian contractors 80% and only 20%. And even this 20% should only be in an instance that Zambians cannot do those jobs. Specialized jobs where Zambians cannot do. If Zambians can do those jobs, why not even give them 100%? Why not even give them 100%? So what I'm trying to say is, if anybody who wants to rule this country must come with a plan of how this country is going to be run, and should be run on Christian principles, true Christian principles. Tetmuchte uku mulela that we are Christians, mulela na church give donations, but uku muleti tikaba nenu, uku ifyo muleti tafionse tafiri wino. No. Alale soite wakwangasha. The day God will come, people will regret. Ba pole bali bembili. Alalesa mwila shente kalesa mweba nensulesa tabe poa. Alaseba nyeri. We have seen now that it is a period of elections. Mulemona ba politician churches. This country must be run on Christian values. Aba pepa feli onse whether kuli ama election takuli ama election. Bambia bantu ba pepa no kupepa. But when it comes to time of elections, ndamwabe pusha ni ku church insure tabaka atane church mailo bali ku Katolika, mailo bali ku UCZ, mailo bali ku Pente, mailo bali uku, because bale folk pay ma donations pakwa babeshibe. You cannot manufacture popularity over a short period of time. Political popularity is created over a long period of time. People must know you. People must understand you. Te kuisa fie lama election ya paramelo mwala mmachecho motamuya kutumpika lesa. Bambi na abantu kufidilo nomba. Uko abafie chililo ni nshinamuya. Uko abafie chililo ni nshinamuya. Teti bami tunganya no kweva timuli baloshini momuleipa ya abantu. So people of Zambia, ba PF mweba nandi, mwema structures, as we go to the election, do the right thing. Otherwise, mwema structures mwakula wompeshe wafie without being empowered. Ngayaisa ama election bami pelo totu inotuma 200 utuma 2000 atawabe neba kusala. As we go to the election, go and vote beyond those who have given money, beyond ubonto wakaza nali mutemoyo. Mutemo omuntu because akachite chisuma. Mutemo omuntu because if you have ombafia limoneka. Mutemo omuntu because you have hope that at least muri uyo muntu kuti mwafuma chimu. Ichakweba ti chikafu kwechalo, chikafu abantu, in order for this country to develop. Ni mwebo kutila Yesu mwanalesa pakufuatile mwilandila muleilila mweweni n'abaana benu. Bantu nga mwafota pafibi mukalela la pafibi n'okulya efibi mwekatila takwali abatwebele. So ine na chila chitafe appeal na ine wine candidate ninchitaofa nga mwasanga ninkwata ma qualities eyo ndelanda pali abakweta ma qualities uku nchileyo ndelanda, vote for them. It's democracy. But mwikapanga decision yako bati mukachite regret. Lekeni ulupia te everything. Ababa le mpelo ulupia tabaka mpelo ulupia luon nchitayonse. Chawa mokfundo omuntu kulowe savi dhanu kupelo omuntu isavi. Ngabakupela esavi ukaliafi obushikubumu na mailo ukalafu esavi. Nombaba lefu kusamu kupela ukulalo esavi. Ukuchita develop chino chalo, industrialize this country, make policies that are going to create jobs in the economy, that are going to create wealth, that are going to make sure that money remains in Zambia. Entungulushi ishilefuaikwa. Above all, unity. Mulichino chalo. But PF, as we go even for these elections, elect a leader who, when he's elected, he must be able to unite the party. It's not too late. PF needs to be united. The opposition needs to be united. Elo kupata ukweba tiyo ngaba HHF filu baba panga ngana isanke savekata ngana isabanka bachitefi mweba mnyina nile sataka mpali kwate nyukwelela ine mma politics ba mnyina ne bali fuilamo ama businesses yandi ali salikwa na lile kujele. But I can tell you from deep down the bottom of my heart, I will not want if you're not pitilemo umuntu umbi ukupitamo. Ichilandushi chabana lesa. Ifilu wafia abantu lesa fio muine euka abalubuluisha. But PF, I thought this was important. And to close up, I need to tell the Zambian people that this country has got 4 semantic areas where we are lagging. And any leader who is able to resolve these issues and have a plan to resolve these issues should be a leader who should be considered for PF and for the country at large. The first semantic area is the persistent poverty and inequality. Persistent poverty and inequality. Despite signs of microeconomic stability and projected economic growth of about 6.4%, poverty remains extremely high at about 60% of Zambians. About 60% of Zambians are living in poverty. And millions, especially children, face multidimensional poverty. This means that while national indicators such as growth, inflation, and fiscal deficit are improving, the benefit of economic recovery have not yet translated into improved household incomes. Secondly, limited job opportunities. Another major concern is high unemployment and slow job creation, particularly among the youth. Although sectors such as mining and infrastructure are expanding, they have not yet generated enough employment to absorb the growing labor force, leaving many people without stable job opportunities and incomes. The third semantic area is the physical constraints and debt burden. Zambia is also constrained by a heavy public debt burden, which consumes a large proportion of government spending. Debt servicing is now taking up a substantial share of the national budget, limiting funds available for social services, infrastructure, and economic stimulus. How do we overcome this debt burden? It's not by going to borrow again. It's by coming up with an initiative like what I said. If we plant 10,000 hectares of pine tree per each province, giving us 100,000, in 10 years, we'll be able to pay the debt. If we start producing nano powders from the process of copper, if we start producing alloys and super alloys from our critical minerals, which are byproduct of copper, we can create an industry where we can raise money by partnering with investors 49 and 50%. We'll raise enough money to pay the debt. We'll have enough money for ourselves to do our projects and even plant in manufacturing industries like Kaunda did. Kaunda created 266 parastators. During that time, we were not complaining of unemployment. People were finishing Form 5 that time, grade 12, and straight going into employment. But today, we think that only direct foreign investment can create jobs. No, government can also create jobs using the IDC, Industrial Development Corporation, which Mr. Sata and some of us created. The essence of creating IDC was to make sure that we start planting industries that are going to provide the much needed jobs for our people. The fourth semantic area is at the cost of living and energy challenges. High living costs linked to food prices, electricity shortage, and economic adjustments following debt restructuring continues to affect households and businesses. Zambia's dependence on hydropower also exposed the economy to the drought-induced electricity shortage, which disrupt production and employment. South Africa's main source of power are coal-powered electrical generating plants. We have a lot of coal. How many coal plants, coal electricity powered plants, thermal, that we are doing in this Zambia? We've got only one there. We need to create or construct a lot of coal power plants. In fact, Sinazongwe and the Mamba areas must be declared a coal electricity generating city with incentives in terms of tax incentives and other incentives to attract the Zambian people to also raise capital to construct these industries. Even as the investors are coming to construct these industries, please let's insist that we have a reasonable shareholding in these companies. They should not only belong to the foreigners. Because what it entails is that if they come to Mamba, set up thermal power generation points, when you pay them, our ad-end kwacha, they will turn it into dollars, externalize it. But if the shareholding is even 40%, the investors 60%, it means the profit of 40% will remain in this country. That can be reinvested in other industries to create more jobs. So as we go to the election, remember, persistent poverty and inequality, limited job creation, fiscal constraints and debt burden, how do we approach it, cost of living and energy challenges. The cost of living, if we are making enough money from our mining companies, if we had 49% share and the investors 51%, even 60, as we have 40, we'll raise enough money to subsidize, for instance, a maize or mealie meal, so that mealie meal, which affects even the poor of the poor people, can come down. But because the country doesn't have money, if we have to subsidize now without raising money, it will simply mean that we are going to borrow more. But if we increase our shareholding in the mining companies, we make sure that we are shareholders in all the major industries, we will have enough money as profits to subsidize high cost of living and to some extent subsidize fuel, which is a larger component of production costs. This is what I wanted to communicate to the country. Long live Zambia, long live PF. And by the way, in conclusion, let me say that the PF stands at a crossroad today. When we talk about commercial break, let me just take some water, commercial break. The question I want to ask the PF today is what do we actually want to do with PF? Because where we are today, we are on crossroads. We have not held the convention because of the injunction by Chabinga. I have heard so many explanations as to why we have not held. I don't want to talk about the reasons why we didn't hold the convention before the injunction. That I have condemned, that we procrastinated in holding the convention, which led to even the party being divided. But after the Chabinga injunction, it has been very difficult because of two scenarios. The first scenario is that if we hold the convention under a special purpose vehicle today, before the court ruling on the 27th, it will simply means that we have resigned from PF. Now, supposing PF is given back on the 27th, then you hold the convention on a special purpose vehicle. You cannot go back to PF because PF says you can only come back to PF after 3 years. After 3 years, and this, if you have to come back before 3 years, Central Committee must agree. Now, those that are going to remain with PF, is there a possibility that they are going to agree that, yes, you people can come back and be part of PF? Because here we are fighting Chabinga. So if all of us go on a special purpose vehicle, we have resigned from PF. If PF is given back to the original owners, it means abakashala bena Chabinga na bambia abantu bakaseva nifowa PF imomo aliyakale go for good. The second scenario is that if we waited for the 27th, on the 27th, whether PF is given back or not, it is a defining moment because ni nshita kwa kabe any nshita for preparations to file the nomination by 15th of April or by May. Then we can decide that, okay, we'll load the convention even on a special purpose vehicles because to aluisha to afilwa. But in my view, and that's my personal view, 27th is just 10 days from today. Surely if we have waited all this long, would we want for us to resign from PF today and leave the PF undecided? The signs that were given are pointing to good things to come, that Chabinga was declared not Secretary General. And in my view, if he's not Secretary General, all the cases that are in court are about Chabinga and Ngona was declared not Secretary General, about Ngona and Chabinga. So if they don't have locus, to represent PF, how possible is it that on the 27th, the judgment will be different? My appeal, personal opinion, not Lubinda's, not Central Committees, that's my personal opinion, for PF members to debate, open debate. Should we have the convention as announced in 4 days, or we wait for 10 days? Chishimba Kambwili, signing off. Thank you very much.